Hello and welcome to She Said What She Said, the podcast where we interview badass women in the sports world and beyond. This is a special week. It is my birthday week. My birthday's on Friday, but close enough. So for my birthday week, I obviously had to have something super duper fun. Every week is fun. Literally every Wednesday, I'm always excited to have my guest on. Always a great time. There are no bad guests. I don't love any of them more than others, but come on. Sometimes we just have to have those certain ones that are like, that's a birthday person. And so our birthday person this week is my college best friend. That's right. We're going Penn State track and field, guys. And so let me tell you about this woman. She is one of the greatest discus throwers ever to come out of the state of Ohio. I think in the Midwest, I'm pretty sure, and I'll tell you guys about how I first heard about her when I was in high school. She then went on to Penn State and became one of the greatest discus throwers ever at Penn State. No big deal. We're only a major school, right? And then she loved school so much that she just kept staying in it for years and years and years. And that's right. She is Dr. Christen Clemson because she has a PhD. I was so happy to get out of there in 4 years, but look, she did 5 because she ended up having an extra year of eligibility from an injury. And it was like, she just loved it so much. She just kept going. She was like, I love Penn State. So without further ado, and also, this is another reason why I love track and field, right? Because you have a sports, you have the people that are like you're doing the same things, but track and field, we have literally every type and size of person on a team, right? You have the muscular sprinters, you got the skinny distance runners, and then you have the big, strong throwers. And ladies and gentlemen, that's right. My 5'4" little city slicker self hung out all the time with a 6 foot tall farm girl from Ohio. So let's welcome Dr. Christen Clemson. Yay!
Hey, Sherry. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for that awesome introduction.
Of course. Thanks for coming on.
No problem. And listen, because it's your birthday, you know what photo I'm going to share, right? So this is how far back we go.
So we're already going the not suitable for work.
We're already going for not suitable for work, okay? Like, this was her 19th birthday.
That was a crop top wife beater written with
marker. Yeah, look at this. Ready?
I think Danielle Bobo did that one for me because that's when I lived with Brooke and Bobo.
I think so too. Yep. So I just wanted to share that in honor of your birthday. There's a few more that are going to make an appearance, but I wanted to throw it back.
Happy birthday to me. Woo!
Happy birthday, Sherry.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. So my 19th birthday, epic. Close your ears, Mom, when you listen to this. But like, I started doing shots of Bacardi Raz, which I can't even smell anymore, before my guests even got there.
It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Many, many years later, I could not remember how I got onto campus. Like, I knew I didn't drive. You know what I mean? I was like, and then I found out it was you. You drove me onto campus. Then I got lost for a bit.
It was a mess. It was like fun mess.
I was with Connie, and then I wasn't with Connie, and fortunately, one of our football guys was like, "Yeah, Sherry, let's get your little butt home," and I said, "Thank you." What? Yeah. Oh my God. The amount of alcohol that young us could drink. And like, I didn't even get sick. It was just like, kept going.
We were definitely in better drinking shape than we are now, I feel like.
Oh my God. Now it's like, oh God.
Like one and done.
Yeah. I like this Saturday, I'm going to like really pace myself here because We
One
need,
sip, one water. One sip, one water.
yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint. In the old days, it used to be a sprint,
It
but
was a flat
marathon
out
distance.
400.
Well, thanks for getting me distracted.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about your birthday too. You have a very special birthday.
I do. I'm a leap year kid, so I have a birthday every 4 years. I'm both lucky and I guess not lucky.
So you're 9,
I
right?
am.
Yeah, you're 9. You'll be 10 in 2 years. That's so
I will.
exciting.
It's gonna be crazy. I can't wait to celebrate the big 10. Like I know, right?
The ideas are what do you think of dinosaur themes? Is that what we liked when we were 10?
I think maybe there was some like Barbie in there. I don't know. Like
Ooh, that's
I was
also
a
a great idea.
I was a
Mhm.
Barbie kid growing up. Yeah, I had a
Me too.
collection.
Me too. Uh,
So
yeah, and the funny thing is too, when Facebook first came out, it didn't understand leap year birthdays, so it would
no,
say Christen Clemson's birthday is coming up. You know, give you the countdown and it'd be like Christen Clemson's birthday is tomorrow, and then
gone.
gone.
Well, and that's what happened my 21st birthday actually in state college. So you guys were at indoor Big Tens and I wasn't. And I went to go out with friends
Right,
to
you
the bar.
redshirted that year, right? That season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I went to go out to the bar and they wouldn't even let me in. Like, not even just, no, you're not like allowed. Like, it was like, I'm like, well, when can I come in? And they're like, try like March 1st.
You tried the
No,
28th.
it was rough.
Oh, like no, this isn't close enough.
Yeah, no. So it was kind of sad. I was like, I was stuck alone without my team. Like, I was like, oh,
This is fun, guys. It's fun. It's
yeah,
fine.
it's
Everything's fine. Oh man.
well.
Yeah. So a star was born on a leap year in the middle of Ohio, which people don't understand. Okay, Cortland and Mecca is the party place. So let's
Okay, so we actually are down to 2 bars because one of them burnt recently.
Oh,
So
right, yeah. Mm.
we're down to 2 bars, 3 churches, and a place to get bait and tackle.
And a Mexican place with great to-go margaritas, but they close super early.
Everything
Like
closes
8,
between
9.
8 and 9 o'clock. Yep.
Yeah, I remember when I was last there. It was like, oh, we got to order it now. I was like, oh.
We're on a time crunch here for
Yeah,
dinner.
I
Like,
didn't know about that.
yep.
But yeah, so a star was born on a leap year. Uh, what age, and I actually don't think I know about this, what age did you get into sports? Were you, I mean, I know you have a brother, so were you guys
Mhm.
always in the mud, racing, climbing, or like when did you get into organized sports?
So organized sports started, first of all, dance actually. I danced for like 14
You're
years.
so graceful.
I,
Really?
yeah, I did actually. I started with,
I swear, like I'm gonna have my best friend on here, but I'm not gonna learn anything new. I know everything about her.
yeah, I danced for 14 years. I started with my
What kind of
mom,
dance?
tap, jazz, ballet, and gymnastics. I quit gymnastics when I was like 8 because I smacked my head on the floor. And I decided that that was not for me anymore. So I was like, Mom, we're not doing this. I quit tap at like 12 because it kept giving me a headache. So I stopped doing tap and then I picked up lyrical. So I did jazz, lyrical, and point actually for the rest of my time until I basically got into, I want to say it was like 6th grade. And at the end of my 6th grade summer, I knew I was going into high school and I knew sports were going to start kicking in. And we tried to balance it for like the first 3 months and I couldn't balance both sports and dance. And so I quit dance, but I played sports. I think I didn't start t-ball. I started with like kid pitch. So
Okay.
I think I was like 2nd grade when I started softball. My dad had been a big baseball player. He'd got me
Hmm.
recruited. He'd done really amazing things in the sport of baseball. And so he was like, hey, kid, we're going to start with softball. So I started softball when I think I was 8 and played all the way until my senior year.
Hmm. Did you play volleyball too?
I did. I
Yeah.
played volleyball and I actually, I now am the head coach at my
Right.
Wright
Yeah.
State. But I played for 6 years. I played volleyball. I was a middle hitter. It was not a sport that I understood as a kid. I like to hit the ball as hard as I could, and a lot of times it would hit the back wall. And my coach used to
Yeah.
get so frustrated. He'd be like, "You are so talented in so many things, but not this." And
Bless your heart.
he was right. And then I picked up basketball in 5th grade. Basically, the coach was friends with my dad, and he was like, "Listen, your kid's gonna be really tall. She's really athletic. Like,
You're 6 foot tall. Yeah. From
yeah,
rural Ohio. Yeah. You just
yep."
automatically are on the basketball team.
And actually, I was hoping to get a basketball scholarship. To be honest with you, track,
Really?
yeah,
Huh.
track actually didn't even cross my mind until like my sophomore year when school started to recruit me. I really, really, really actually wanted to play basketball at the University of Michigan. Yeah.
Things you learn. Oh my
Mhm.
God.
In
Yeah.
Well, in fact, actually, my visit to Penn State was to Coach Portland, Renee Portland at the time. And I basically said, "Coach Portland, I want to play for you." And her response, she looked me up and down. She goes, "You're only 6 foot tall." She goes, "You're too short to play for me. Let's go talk to the track and field coaches."
Wow. Yeah, because that's the thing. You're 6 foot, which
Mhm.
sounds tall, but Big Ten women's basketball, if you want to play center, you have to be 6'5",
Yeah.
probably 6'4", maybe for a short center.
Yeah.
Like
And
you
and
have to, yeah.
my ball handling skills weren't good enough to be like a power forward. So,
Right. Yeah.
yep. So she literally walked me down the hall to the track and field coach's office.
It was like, try this sport.
Yeah.
How did you get
So.
into track? When did you start?
Hilarious story actually. My 7th grade social studies teacher, who I'm still friends with, she looked me up and down and she's like, "Do you do track?" And I was like, "No, I play softball. Like, I'm gonna get a
Hmm.
softball scholarship or a basketball scholarship." And she goes, "I think you should try it. Go home and talk to your mom." And I was like, "What is it?" And she's like, "You basically throw a pancake really far." And I looked at her and I'm like, "A what?" And she goes, "You throw a 2-pound pancake." And I was like, "Okay." So I went home and I'll never forget. My mom was doing dishes at the kitchen table or at the kitchen sink. And I was like, "Hey, mom, I think I want to try track." And she's like, "No, we're not picking up another sport." And I was like, "Can I just try it?" And she's like, "Well, how much work is it for me?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, I think it's just right after school. And like softball doesn't start until like June." And she's like, "Well, fine." And literally that was my introduction to track.
Wow. And so your teacher automatically thought you were discus.
She
That's
did.
interesting.
She did.
Was she a discus thrower herself?
No, she'd recruited a lot of kids. She saw how long my massive arms were. So I
Hmm.
have almost a 7'1" wingspan if I stretch these babies out, all the way from middle finger to middle finger. And as a middle school kid, I could practically scratch my kneecaps. So she was like, "Hey, you're perfect for this."
I guess I didn't think right because I think of someone just throwing in general. Usually people start with a shot and then from the shot they go maybe to the discus or the weight or the hammer. So that's really interesting. I did not know that people just went into, and I guess being a dancer probably helps as
Yep.
well because you spin a lot faster and
Well, and I
grace,
like,
etc.
yeah, like I had good body control, which is a major
Hmm.
part of discus. So, while all the other kids looked like really weird scarecrows blowing in the breeze, I had a faint idea what I was doing.
Hmm. I guess that'll do it.
Mhm.
Huh.
It's crazy. We've never had these conversations
I know.
before.
It's like I know everything about you, but I didn't know you dance
Mhm.
forever.
Yeah, I actually, if I had thought about it, I would have got a dance picture because they're hilarious. I was
Please send those to me later. I did dance too as a little kid, just
really
ballet.
okay.
Yeah, Russian ballet. I was in the little like local production of the Nutcracker
Oh, cute
2
little
years.
Shirley.
Yeah, my our neighbors, my like best friend's mom, she was a ballet dancer. So and it was when my sister was in the hospital. So I was always over there anyway. So I just started doing ballet. But I only did it for a couple years.
That's so cute. Yeah, I have like pictures of me in like for 14 years in various outfits. You can
Uh,
tell the years that I grow and the years that I don't grow because I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of a chubby little kid in years I didn't grow.
Speaking of having triple chins as a
Mhm.
child, there goes my sister. She said I was a
Hey,
teddy
Jody.
bear. Don't go crazy. Listen, here's the thing. The little kids Nutcracker, when they all come out, the first year I was a little doll and I did the little thing. The second year they tried to make me a Raggedy Ann, and the Raggedy Ann and Annie, like they have they wake up the toys, but I hated the costume, so I cried. And so because they thought this was like the role, this is what we want to be. So they asked me what I wanted to be, and I said I want to be a teddy bear. Thanks, Jody.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Jody.
Little Kid Nutcracker is not usually thing BTW. Yeah, it's not, but I have heard of it being other places. Thanks, Jody. Whatever.
I was a gold lame dinosaur in 6th grade. Okay, we did like a Christmas pageant that dealt with dinosaurs. We went all out. I had a head to toe, full size, gold, shiny, sparkly dinosaur suit that I wore, and then tripped over a microphone cord because I also have big feet.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's like Love Actually when they're doing the nativity scene. The lobster is there.
Yes,
whatever.
Yes. With gold dinosaurs. Yeah. I mean, listen, I live out in the middle of nowhere. We believe in gold dinosaurs, so
it's historically accurate. So talking about, so did you immediately start being really good in discus? Like, was it freshman year or was it like sophomore year that you started to really making a name for yourself?
It was actually like 7th grade year. So I picked it up.
Bad.
That's okay. I took to it kind of like a duck takes to water. I just got it. And it was kind of magical. I can remember like I'd go to these meets and I would just win. And I was like, whoa, like this is amazing. And then 8th grade year, I threw 115 feet, which is still close to our county record. I don't know if it still is for junior high. But it was like, that was like the moment like that I was like, whoa, okay, I can do this. And then freshman year, I went to the state meet and I placed, I think it was top 8. And I got beat out by a couple of seniors, but I made finals, and my coach just looked at me and he was like, holy crap, like wow. And I was like, I know, right? Like, this is awesome. And it was like kind of that moment that I think I like fell in love with it because it didn't rely on a team. It didn't, I see that Jody 67. That's still cool. Like,
yeah, Jody. yeah. That's like more normal for middle schoolers throwing. Like most middle schoolers are not breaking 100. No.
And so it was kind of, I loved it because I'm really competitive, super competitive.
We know.
And yeah, Sherry knows well. And so it was basically how hard I worked was how good I could get. And that's what I absolutely loved about the sport of track and field was if I wanted to put in a ton of work and a ton of hours, then I'm the one who saw the payoff. And sometimes that didn't happen necessarily on some of the teams I was on. And so for me, it was great because I was part of a team, but it didn't really matter how my team did. I could still make state.
Absolutely. Did you ever do like AAU or USATF summer?
Yeah.
Track?
So I got really.
Who did you even like? Was there a club near you? I mean,
I got really lucky. Ed Wilson, who I don't think is any longer with us.
I remember the name.
He literally saw me and he was like, "Hey, Christen, like, if you want to come work with another coach, because my coach at the time was a distance coach. Like, he coached small
town Ohio.
Yeah, and there was nobody around I knew who was a thrower. I was pretty much it. And so he coached at a really big school about 45 minutes away. And I said, well, like, I don't...
Was he in Youngstown?
He was at Youngstown, yeah.
Youngstown.
And he said, and he's like, I work with a bunch of kids at what's called Austintown Fitch High School, which is a major, like, I think they're a D1 school, like 45 minutes from me. And that's where he coached, like, a club team, essentially.
Yeah.
And he's like, I coach kids for free. You just have to make the effort to drive up there. And I was like, what, really? Like, you're going to coach me for free? Like, and he was like, yep. He's like, we meet these nights and you can come and throw. And so I would go up and I would throw with these kids who were seniors, who were, college freshmen. And he worked with all of us like we were going to go to the Olympics. I mean, constantly critiquing, constantly fixing, constantly telling us what we were doing wrong. And so it was awesome to like watch, I guess, what I could be if I kept working. But I didn't compete club until my junior year. And then I went out to junior nationals in California. And then my senior year, it was also out in California. And I just missed making the junior national team. I was 4th.
Okay. Got it. Was that the team that Kate made?
I believe so. I believe Kate
that
made
went
it. And
down to Argentina, or was it the championship, or somewhere South America, I believe. I just
I was
had
gonna
her on here
say,
not too long ago. Uh,
yeah, I don't remember,
but
but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I think that was the team that she
mhm,
made in the Hammer. And so yeah,
yes.
you got fourth in the as a high schooler. Wow.
I got fourth.
Okay.
So
That's
yeah,
incredible.
it was awesome, but it was like, I remember that's part of the reason I like love throwing at like Stanford, because that's where I
Mm-hmm.
got fourth at, and it was just
Ah, okay.
beautiful. I was blown
Yeah.
away.
Mm-hmm. I don't think you knew. So Brooke was not my high school teammate. She was my club teammate.
Oh, no, I
So
didn't know that.
just like that. Yeah. So I mean, I went to one of the powerhouse schools, but like my coach also had that saying for other athletes at other schools: if you made the effort to come to our club, you could train, and there was for free. And so yeah, so. And I know Brooke's parents kind of offered her that, like, we could move to Ann Arbor so you could go to high
Mhm.
school here. She wanted to stay with her friends, even though she was friends with like me. So yeah, so she lived in Belleville,
Oh, wow.
Michigan, which is kind of halfway in between Ann Arbor and Detroit. So still like a large school, but they did not, have she was really the only one going to like state meets, but she had us. She had
Yeah,
the rest of the Pioneer girls there. So
that's
yeah, so that's
awesome.
actually how I met Brooke, and as we all know, that's why I ended up going to Penn State, because
Yeah, that's really cool. I was
yeah.
really fortunate that um, she's a year younger than me. Her name's Michelle Rossio. Her name's
Hmm.
now Christensen, but she actually competed at a local school, John F. Kennedy, and we like when I realized that she was fairly good. I said to her, "Hey, like, who are you training with?" And she's like, "No one." And I was like, "Hey, you need to come with me."
Hmm.
And so we provided a lot of push and support for each other, and she ended up going she started out at Michigan State and then ended up transferring to Arkansas and threw for Arkansas. She ended up focusing more on like hammer by the time she was a senior,
Okay.
but it was really nice in our area that we had, I had like, I don't want to say a training partner because we went to vastly different schools, but we had someone to like look forward to competition and stuff. So I was
Yeah.
really fortunate in that aspect.
Yeah, and it's interesting, how you say about it, like how many kids are out there with all this talent in certain sports or certain events, but they don't have that Ed Wilson or
Mhm.
that Brian Westfield that was my coach, or just having the ability to get to the practices, kind of like,
It's
oh.
crazy to me. I mean, it's part of the reason
Hmm.
why when I coach now, people will say to me like, "Hey, you've coached some really good people. Like, can we come work with you? And what do you cost?" And my response is always, "I don't cost a penny, but you have to drive to Maplewood." And
Hmm.
so, most people are shocked and they don't, believe that. But that's my policy: is I will work with you as long as you show up. And
Hmm.
so, right now, I'm working with a really good shot putter from a local
Hmm.
school. She's a 42-foot shot putter, and we're moving her, we're moving her up. Like,
Wow.
she's going to be, I'm hoping this year she's going to be a 46, 47-foot shot putter, but she shows up, she texts me,
Yep.
she's like, "Hey
Hmm.
coach, when can we throw?" Like, and I show up when she asks.
Yep. And that's still how Candace Davis Price, my,
Mhm.
I had her on a couple of weeks ago. She is now running our club program. She costs nothing. It's that same. If
Mhm.
you want to be trained with me, you can, but you have to put in the
Yep.
work. And
Yep.
I know we've talked about getting fundraisers going, and she's had fundraisers up, and of course, I'll donate. I'll tell my mom to donate, but it's really because the kids do deserve to get these opportunities. And I mean, she just had a
Oh,
sprinter sign at Vanderbilt.
that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and which is actually where one of our high school teammates ran. So she was like, "I can send her to Vanderbilt. Lauren Fortson loved it there."
Yeah,
It was
that's
just kind of a.
fantastic.
But it's having those coaches, man,
Mhm.
that makes such a difference, because you just wonder
Oh,
how many kids are out there, if they
yeah.
don't have that. And we're just talking about sports too, like, say with any skill set out there, like if kids don't have someone there to show interest and push them and help them, you
It's
know.
crazy. I mean, I think sometimes we do a disservice to our kids because we don't. I mean, what I find is that most kids, although they don't like them, they appreciate boundaries. They appreciate a coach getting in their face. They appreciate someone
Mhm.
yelling at them and saying, "Hey, listen, like, you're not doing this right. Here's how to fix it. Here's how to get better." Like, and I, my kids know and I tell them I'm the first person to yell at you when you do something wrong, but I'm the first person to yell at you when you do something right. And I will yell it at the same volume and the same
Yeah.
tone of voice. Like, so, I think sometimes we do our kids a disservice by not, being tough on them.
Yeah. Yeah. My high school coach's, one of his key phrases was, "But do I love you?" Yes.
I think I've used that before, actually.
Yeah, it was, I mean, and look, he was a German man. He was from white dude, but he has 5 daughters, took 0 prisoners. He was that teacher that walked through the halls that the kids would take their hat off. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, there's Westfield. So,
Yeah.
and it's like you need that type of firm. I know that was really helpful,
I
for me, because I was a little wild child.
I just got told a couple days ago that I'm one of the more intimidating teachers in my school, which is hilarious because I don't think I am, but they are like, "Oh my gosh, you can be so intimidating." And I'm just like, "Well, thank you."
I think it's because you care. I think my sister probably has that same, because like when you care, you expect things from people.
Oh yeah.
And
I
when
expect them.
if you don't care about them and just pass them through, well, what is that going to do for them? What lessons are they actually learning from that class?
We have a joking hashtag, back when Twitter was hugely popular. Our hashtag is classy, not trashy. And, we hold our student section to that. We hold our kids to that. Like, we hold ourselves to that. I mean, that's like, and the kids take great pride in that. We're like, hey, like someone will do something and they'll be like, classy, not trashy. And we're like, well, okay, like, all right, and I think that that's, important to kind of instill that. It's funny because my freshmen do it all the time. And I'm like, you guys weren't even around when we invented that, and they're like, but no, we know, coach. And I'm like, all right.
There you go. So let's talk. So let's talk about this this is my sister. I tell my kids when I stop yelling them, they should be worried. If I'm yelling, you're worth my time. Man.
Nailed it, Jody. Nailed it. I think I've used that line before.
True. Yeah, I yell because I care. And if I didn't care, then you're not going to hear from me. And that's when you should be worried.
The minute I stop correcting your behavior is the minute I don't care what you do.
Yeah. That is, so before I go back to that story, I do want to, because I'm recruiting before I committed to Penn State. Did you take other official visits, and where did you take them?
Yes, I did. I went to Ohio State. I went to Ohio State. It was an interesting visit. Let's just put it that way. Although I did get on the sideline at the shoe. So, I mean, it was pretty awesome. And I got to tour the football building. So that in itself was pretty cool.
Yeah, I've heard the stories that we don't need to put on the air for that. But yeah.
Then I went to Michigan a couple of times because I told you, like, U of M was a big school for me that I really actually thought I was going to go to. And then I did like some smaller visits. I was actually scheduled to fly out to the University of Arizona, and then 9/11 happened. And so that was, my senior year. And once that kind of happened, it kind of threw University of Arizona kind of out the window, simply because people just didn't want to get in the airplane about that time. So we took an unofficial tour to Purdue, which is actually where my brother ended up going. I had kind of narrowed it down to the fact that I knew I wanted a Big Ten school. To me, going a Big Ten school was the ultimate, made it.
Yeah.
So when I went to Penn State, I just kind of fell in love. Like it felt like little Mecca, Ohio. So I was like, this is my place. But yeah, so those were the three places that I did.
Who did you stay with on your Penn State visit?
I stayed with hang on, let me think. Oh my gosh. I think it was Lexi.
Fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Lexi. And we were at McElwain, and I just remember being there and being like, this is the place I want to be. Because
and Coach D was there, right? Because she was already there. Yeah.
Because Coach Wilson, my AAU coach had basically said to me, he said, Christen, go to a place where if you got hurt and could never compete again, that you would still want to be at. And walking those tree-lined campus streets, I was like, this is where I want to be.
And we had such a great group of throwers that were older than you as well. There were so many people that were just such a fun.
I gotta shout out to my group here real quick. Let me get that picture out. Hold up one second, because I found Let me hang on. I got a couple of them. Yeah, I think this is like our group here. So yeah, I got a shout out to the throwing group here. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
Jackie
that was it.
Miller,
Raleigh
Coach
relays.
T, everyone
Yep.
came. Yeah, everyone's
So
in
that was
there.
it. Actually, that was at the NC State meet. So
Okay. Yeah. Raleigh relays.
yeah. Yep.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So when we
Absolutely.
stayed in that hotel with the giant sketchy keys.
Loved it with it. Yeah. Great.
Remember they had like the foot long.
Yes, I remember. But it was so great because it was in April and it was like so warm.
Oh, I love that meet. Even
And we
now,
could
I love
just
that meet.
walk to and from the track. It
Mm.
was just like, instead of having to coordinate a bus,
Yep.
you know, I mean, like Penn relays, you know what I mean? Where we would just be on our own and just
Right.
out running these streets. We were competing, but
unlike C-Ray relays when they wouldn't feed us and made us watch the 10K.
Well, we weren't allowed to stay on campus anymore because the year before you and I arrived there, the Penn State team had a little bit too much fun with the Tennessee track team. Remember, there were some frat parties attended. And
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's kind of
They refused to feed us for hours.
Well, actually, there was a Subway right around the corner from the track.
No one told the throwers this. We were starving to death.
Yeah, I knew this, and I remember one of the days because Coach Johnson loved him to death, but you know he can be like me. He can get a little grumpy when he's hungry. I was like, Coach Johnson, do you want anything from Subway? And he was with his brother, and I was like, other Coach Johnson, do you want something from Subway too? 10 Penn babies. I don't think any babies were born out of that, but let's just say that our programs were not allowed to socialize together.
No, we had to stay like that was actually the meet where we stayed in this hotel far away, and there was only like a salad place next door, and so the throwers literally hiked across an interstate to get a burger at like 10 o'clock at night. Like we were scared to death that we were all gonna die because we literally crossed an interchange to get to a burger place.
Yeah, that was that hotel sucked. Super fun meet. I think I still have a tote bag because we won a DMR there one year, this random event. We won or got third or something. I don't know, but I have this, like, it didn't give us a medal, but they gave us like this like random ass tote bag. And I was like, I guess I'll just display this random thing.
I think I have like something very similar because I think I won one year there and I was like, what am I going to do with this? Like,
yeah. I mean, it was cool, but yeah, it was like,
cool.
Okay, I'll take this tote bag.
That'll be a great time.
I know, right? But another fun meet. So, okay. So, and did you commit to Penn State early or did you commit in the regular signing program?
I committed early.
Okay, so you did early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because of all my other sports, I wanted to make sure that if God forbid something else happened or I got hurt or I blew out a knee, because that was a serious concern, that I was already safely signed someplace. So I actually signed on the first official signing day in fall when all the football players signed.
Got it. Okay. Nice. Yeah. Which is when I was trying to sign for Tulane, but I had to wait for my academic money and then all the thing. You know the story.
Oh, I know the
that's
story.
How I ended up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was. Yeah. But I was to say I wanted to sign early because it was like just get this shit out of the way.
Well, I wanted people to stop calling me too. Like that became a big one. I still have like a book of all my letters that I got, and I just was like, I need it to stop. Like by my senior year, I needed it to stop. I'd won my junior year. I'd set the state record in the state of Ohio, and I just needed the crazy to stop.
Yeah, you had way more people. I mean, I had a box of letters and you were way better than me. So let's be real, Z here.
I will say the one I am probably the most proud of is just for shits and giggles, I applied to Harvard and I got accepted and I have the acceptance letter for Harvard.
They let you in?
They did. They wanted me to come throw for them. So my mom goes,
but they actually gave you the acceptance letter?
Yeah. Yep. My mom was like, are you sure you want to turn this down? And I was like, yes.
Yeah, there's no money involved. Yeah. Oh, man. So Penn told me they were only going to accept me if I committed to running for them. And so I said no. So they sent me a decline. They sent me they rejected me.
You got judged.
Yeah, but I mean, they called me and they were like, because, I did one of my visits there and they're like, we need you to make a decision. Are you coming here or not. And I was just like, I don't think I want to do the Ivy thing. Like, I'd visited a couple of
Right.
Ivies, so I was like, this isn't for me. And so, yeah, they sent me a rejection. I was like,
You're like, done.
nice. Yeah, I didn't even try for Harvard. Yale asked me, when are you retaking the SATs? And I was like, nah. And so that was the end of Yale, because I got really good ACT score. SAT, I fell asleep, and I just wanted to get it out of the way. We weren't going to redo those SATs. So
No.
that verbal section just annihilated me.
See, that's the section I'm good at. It was the math section that rocked.
That's the section
world.
that I'm good at. Yeah.
Oh, that math section rocked my life.
Yeah, no, it was the uh-oh, did I lose you?
Oh no.
Oh, there you are. Okay, no, you froze for a bit. No, it's just funny how different people's brains work. I know we're on a tangent, but like ACTs, fun fact about me. So I did not know that there was a science portion on the ACT. That's how much I studied and prepared for it.
Nice.
You know what score I got on the science portion of the ACT?
No.
32.
That was, yeah.
I got like a 32, like a 31 on the math or something. It was the English shit that brought my overall score down.
Yeah, and see, the English is my strength. Like I literally, like that is what I do. I missed on the SAT a perfect score in the language section by 1.
My dad was like that with math.
Yeah. Cannot do math.
I didn't know that.
Cannot do math to save my life. I think my math score was like a 300.
Yeah. Like you put
but
your
my
name
English,
down.
yeah, my English score was at the time, I think 800 was the best you can do. And I think mine was like a 7. I want to say it was like a 795 or something like that. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Just miss one. Mm-hmm. Another new thing I learned.
Yeah.
Okay, so you signed early. Mm-hmm. You went and you had a really fun senior year, and one meet that you went to your senior year in high school was the first time that we encountered each other.
It was.
So I'll get it from my perspective. Okay, I'll tell my side of the story first. So it's called the Midwest Meet of Champions. It's like the top 2 seniors from the states of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky-ish, I think. Those states, they from all different divisions, they would come down. I think it was in Ohio. It was the seniors only.
Yes, I actually have a picture from this. That's what I'm looking for. Really quick.
I have a cutout, a newspaper cutout of it, but it's at my parents' house, and I forgot to ask my mom to take a picture of it. But so I went down there, and I was going to run the 4x1 and the 1. But my coach, because he ran the state of Michigan, he told the coach, no, she's actually going to be running the 400 when she gets to Penn State. So she'll be running the 4x1 and the 4x4. So yeah, so I ran the 4x4. I ran like 2 open 400s my entire senior year. Didn't know what I was doing. But we got down there and they were like, man, there's this discus thrower from Ohio that is insane. Like she's like the best person here. And you threw like what, 150 feet or something at that meet?
I think so. Yeah, I almost tied my state record. I think I threw 156.11. And actually, I have a photo real quick. So, this is me and my teammates from the Midwest Meet of Champions.
Wow.
Yes, so nice. I'm trying to make sure it doesn't glare, but yeah, we were ridiculous.
So that's how I heard about you. By the way, Michigan destroyed everybody we won.
Yeah, you guys did, because your sprints killed everyone. I don't think you had a single kid that could throw far, but you had like bajillions of sprinters.
Yeah, no one that could throw.
So the way I met Sherry was, so we were up on this hill, like the track was down in this valley, and the throwing facility was like up on the hill. And so they basically lined us all up on top of the hill, and they said, okay, like before the 400 starts, we're going to introduce you guys. So stand here in this line and look like normal human beings. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're all standing there. They're lining up the 400
4x1
or 4x1. Yeah. Sorry. 4x1. And, we're kind of being like jerks, right? Cause we're all standing there and like, every girl on the track is black. And one of our girls next to us said, "Look at that little white girl. There's no way she's gonna get her butt kicked." And it turns out that little white girl was Sherry. And so we actually watched Sherry kind of destroy her field. And all of us were shocked and learned a lesson about judging people because she blew everybody away. And so years later,
I ran the next year. Yeah, I ran the first leg. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the next year, we were just talking about what meets we had been at, and we realized we'd been there. And I was like, "Well, I remember watching this little white girl," and she goes, "That was me." And I'm like, "Oh my god." And so we laughed about it, and I told her this story, and we chuckled.
Yeah. If Michigan sprinters have a white girl, she's going to be fast. This is a pretty good sprinting state.
We now know that. We didn't at the time.
We learned an important lesson.
We definitely did.
But yeah, so then, we started our magical career at Penn State. I'll allow you to embarrass me again, because I think it is like, how did a thrower and a sprinter, become best friends so quickly, right? It's not like we're from the same area. It's not like, let's be real. You're a farm girl. I've seen legit baby chickens in your mom's house, like under their little heat lamp, which is so cute.
Your mom's not gonna let us be friends anymore when I tell her this story.
She's not. Guess what, Mom? I wasn't the bad influence here. It wasn't me.
It was me.
So why not? We had met each other, in the meet and greets and then this and that, but why didn't you go ahead?
So it was BBH class, right? Our biobehavioral health class that basically allows student athletes to get at least one A in their life. And they were giving us like the sex talk about, like
it was a seminar of all the freshman athletes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And we're in there with a bunch of football players. We're in there with a bunch of basketball players. We're in there with pretty much everybody. And they're talking about what destroys, I think it was like, what can weaken condoms or something like that. And they literally were like, well, if you use whipped cream, it can like weaken condoms. And me and my loud mouth literally turns and looks right at Sherry and was like, they're talking to you or something like that. And
Sherry, I told you can't use whipped cream and condoms.
Yes, that was the exact line. And every head slow turns to Sherry.
I don't like this bitch is crazy. I love her though. Hi, be my friends.
So that is how we literally became pretty much inseparable after that moment.
Just destroyed me. And then we had that mandatory study hall.
Oh, that mandatory study hall.
Okay, so mandatory study hall, you had to get, at least a 3.0, I think, so you didn't have to do it your second semester.
Yes.
My lowest GPA all of college was that very first semester when we had mandatory study hall. I think I had like a 3.5 or something, because every day I was talking to this girl right here or flirting with a specific basketball player.
Yes,
and so I would then have to go back to my dorm and actually do my homework after.
It was pretty much my fault.
Yeah, it was 100% your fault. Jesus.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we were allowed trouble. No, you were trouble. Just a bad influence. I know. But the good news is you're 6 foot tall and you have quite the wingspan. So I was always able to behave however I wanted in school. And I had a bodyguard right behind me.
I can be ferocious when need be.
I know. Remember that's how I think we were in Chicago last year. Like, I wish I had a bodyguard. I'm like, you are the bodyguard.
Yep.
But let's talk about your college career, because you had a pretty decent career at Penn State too. Tell me about that.
I did. So I was really fortunate to have a coach who realized that I love discus and let me kind of do what I wanted to do, and didn't really force me to pick up different different events. I did throw shot. I did throw shot. I wasn't great at it. I did score some points, but nothing major. I could never get the hang of the hammer and the weight. They're heel turns and discus is a toe turn. And as a former like dancer, I could never make myself get on my heels. So it's
what is
part of
shot
the
put? Is shot put a
shot put his toes as well.
okay?
Yeah, so I never quite could learn that. And I threw it, but it wasn't great. I didn't have a lot of fun with it. So coach was really fortunate to let me kind of throw discus and really concentrate on it. I won the college section of Penn Relays, which was amazing. On a year that was an Olympic year, that was probably the highlight of like. That's probably one of my highlights. I was really mad. My fifth year, senior year, I would have actually won the advanced section of Penn Relays. I fouled the throw out of sector by like 6 inches. And it actually probably would have been, it may have moved me up to number 1 on the all-time Penn State list, but I just fouled it out of sector by mere inches. And then I qualified for NCAAs by winning the East Coast Regional my 5th year. So it was pretty awesome. I beat the girl from Florida International and threw one of my best throws, and everything just clicked that night. And it was magical. I loved throwing for Penn State. I had a great time. I would do it all again, even though like my knee doesn't work anymore.
Your PR in high school was about 158, 159?
157.11 is what I set the state record at.
157.11. Okay. And at Penn State, you threw 176.
Yes.
Yeah. Didn't even look this shit up today. This is like legit ingrained in my memory.
Nope. Yeah. The one I fouled out of sector at Penn Relays still bothers me because it was like 186, and we measured it afterwards. We had the guy throw a shoe down and he like measured it, and I was like, like to this day that one still kind of bothers me, but live and learn.
Yeah. And it's also, I mean, because one thing too about like Penn State records and stuff, the record was set before they switched the wind rules for the discus. So for people that know track, like we have like wind reading, it needs to be 2.0 or below to be considered wind legal. But it used to be for like the throwing events, they would check it at the very beginning, and that would be like, I think the round, and that would be the speed for everyone in the round.
Correct.
But they had switched that to the correct thing of before every throw. They check the wind reading, because what might go very far with wind?
A little 2-pound discus.
Yeah, like it might not, have a big input on like a shot put. Right. And probably not even a hammer. No, I don't even think the hammer would have any effect. No. Javelin it does. Yep. Yes, but I feel like the discus, if the discus catches a breeze,
it'll go forever.
We're clear sailing like 220 on this one. So it is just kind of interesting too, that evolution of the sport and how like, records come and then you look at older records, but then it's like they had to like change these rules. Right. Not even rule. It was just because, I mean, even if you were at like a major meet and your disc caught the wind, you would still win the meet. Because, but it was just kind of like for records, just in case people don't understand how wind stuff works. And
wind plays a huge role in discus, especially women's discus.
Yeah. Oh, because it's lighter?
Because it's lighter.
What is the men's? 3-4 pounds?
4.
Okay. Yeah. So twice
2.2 kilos. So, and a women's is a 1 kilo.
Okay. Yeah. So so you are, and you're still, no one's passed you on the list, right?
No, I'm still second.
You guys are still, you and Shay are still crazy. 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. Like I would have figured that would have been broken a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, you see so many other, there was one point where I was top 5 for both, the 500 and 600. I was actually even top 10 for the outdoor 400 after my sophomore year.
That's awesome.
And, I mean, I don't even know if I'd be top 25 for that event, but
it's crazy how much
I still might be considered 10 in maybe the 5 and the 6, because those really were my better events. But like we only keep top 5 indoors events. It's just, and I've talked about this with like pretty much all of the track people on here about how the sport has evolved as far as equipment, training, all these things. So for like the discus. Let's talk about your sport specific. Like I've talked about how like my events have changed.
Yeah.
What are the
So
things that have made your event change?
I mean, it's crazy. Like I look back at what we were doing. So at Penn State when I was there, we were lifting hard 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
When I look back, I actually found when I moved a couple years ago, bought my own house, I found all my lifting records, and
Oh.
I was looking at some of my lifting records. We would have qualified for the Olympics in powerlifting. I like literally, I mean, I had at one point a 600-pound squat. I mean, like it was insane. I lost an inch of my life because of my squat. I literally had to go get stretched back out by a chiropractor because I lost an inch. I went from 5'11 and 3/4 to 5'10 and a half. Um, and we were lifting so hard all the time, and now we know that the body needs rest. We know that like sprint drills and quick drills,
Mm-hmm.
and so while like the technology was pretty cutting edge for the actual discuses themselves, I actually was really fortunate to throw some really amazing Denfy discuses that had a really almost invisible whim, but they were like 90% rim weight. And they were awesome. I love them. When I could get drive on them, they just cut into the air and flew as far as they could. So I can only imagine that the new technology coming out even more in aerodynamics is phenomenal. But I think for throwing, the real change has come in like how we know the body reacts. So
Mm-hmm.
like I look at Allman, right? Valerie, like who's the new American record holder, like
And she doesn't
she's
look
tiny.
like what
Yeah.
we would think a discus thrower would look like.
She's tiny, she's
Mm.
fast. I mean, by no means when I say she's tiny, like what I'm talking about is she's not these 6'6", hulking,
Mm-hmm.
really, massively bulky humans anymore. We're finding that good throwers are long and lean and
Let's say because
strong
she's
and quick.
tall
Yeah.
and
And strong and quick.
muscular and very long limbs.
Yes. And,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's very strong, like, don't get me wrong, but we're
Oh
finding out that, long and lean
yeah.
is kind of the way to go because you can generate more speed. And I mean, discus is really a math problem. It's
Mm-hmm.
physics. It's, rotational velocity and speed at release. And so the more that you can get, the farther you can throw. And so I think that that's one of the big changes that I guess I would have liked to have been part of is
Mm-hmm.
because I'm built more long and lean than I am bulky.
Mm-hmm.
And so I competed at like 245, which I think looking at was a little heavy for
Mm-hmm.
me. So I think I would have
Yeah,
loved
that
to.
picture of you throwing, I was like, oh my God, I did not realize like how,
Yeah.
and you weren't fat, you were
No.
dense. You know what I mean? Like you
Dense,
were
yes.
dense.
Dense. But that's what lifting 5 days a week does, is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
makes you dense. And I mean, literally I could lift a house. I mean, at one point, like I probably could have lifted a small house by myself.
Yeah, I mean, you're like 50 pounds lighter than that now, at least. I
uh,
mean, it's
yeah,
maybe more. Yeah, you were.
yeah, a little bit more than, but I mean, like,
Yeah, yeah.
so I think that if I could like go back and do anything, I would have loved to have been, I think, more into that like long, lean, strong,
Mm-hmm.
quick
Mm-hmm.
kind of mentality than we were. But I mean, it's amazing to me just how we're learning more and more about the human body.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
think
I
that's
mean,
the big one.
yeah, and ooh, I'm blanking on her name, the American shot putter.
Oh, I can see her face and her tattoo.
Chase
Yes,
some
Chase easily,
yeah,
easily.
Chase
Yeah,
easily. I mean, in high school, she also ran the 100. She ran
yeah.
11,900, and she's now like the best shot putter in the
Mhm.
world, undefeated.
Right.
It is interesting because, like you said, like how the training would be different, but also how people wouldn't have just been looking like, oh, that's like a strong, girl, put her in the throws. Like maybe we would have been looking for different types of athletes, like maybe
Mhm.
sprinters that like weren't necessarily the best sprinters that could have
Right.
you know, switched
'Cause,
over to the throws.
like, even when I coach now, I mean, I look for kids that are quick. Like, I
Mhm.
look for kids
Yeah,
that they don't
maybe
have
it would
to.
have been me
Yeah, like, I
in
mean,
fact
it
for
doesn't
us,
have
maybe
to
not.
be quote unquote like distance speed. I'm looking for
Yeah,
kids that
yeah,
can take 3 steps and they're quick steps and their
yeah.
feet move
You
and
want that quick twitch muscle,
exactly.
basically the same fast twitch muscle that a 100-meter sprinter will
Yes.
have flying out of the blocks. That is now what we have learned
Yep.
that our throwers need.
And I think that's a huge change. And I think it's only going to propel us because
Mhm.
for so long, I mean, I can remember when I was throwing in high school, I was watching like throwers from the Eastern Bloc of Russia that were these
Yep.
women that we found out later were taking these, terrible steroids.
Oh, yeah.
They were like brick houses. And I just
Yep.
was like, oh my goodness. Like, and I think part of the reason at first, I mean, that's why they kind of recruited me to throw because it's 6 foot tall and I was pretty broad for my, my school. Like they were like, oh, well, she kind of looks like that. And so and I don't regret a single thing. It was awesome being able to like
Right,
bench
yeah.
press and lift as much as I did. But it was like, man, I'd really interested to see like, because in high school, I did. I ran the 100. I ran the 200. I actually qualified for a regional meet in the 200.
Really?
Yeah.
What
Yep.
time did you run in the 200?
It wasn't very good, but because the 200 wasn't great. But
It's okay. You can still tell me you were a discus thrower.
I don't actually remember. I'd have to look. I
You
didn't
have
look
to
for
look
this,
this up because now I'm curious. Because again, you were a thrower and you just happen to be better than all these other people.
yeah. See, Jody, you're only 8th grade, but my girl who won the discus placed second in the 100 and 200. Like, yeah, I mean, I think that speed is important. And, my basketball coach essentially made me run it. He was like, listen, you're not like, you're going to be fast. You're not going to be the last girl down the court. And I took great pride in having decent speed on the basketball court. So, I think that there's some really cool things being done in speed work for throwers.
Is there much, so the surface of a track is really impacting how our sprinters are doing. Is there much impact with new surfaces happening, the discus, or is it because it's moving so quick and so that doesn't really have any impact?
So,
like, can you have a fast circle?
You can, yes.
So what makes a fast circle?
So what makes a fast circle? So obviously our circles are cement, right? So what makes them
right? Yeah. So like we have the track is
So smoothness. In order to have a fast circle, you want to have a really, really smooth track, or a really, really smooth throwing area.
Right.
There can be a thing as having it too smooth because
you fly off of it.
Well, yes, because you still have to push with your feet. So discus is a perfect combination between speed and push. So I'll never forget. We actually threw at the new. Sherry, I think this was after you graduated. That brand new stadium that they built at like Randall Island, New York, that they had the trials.
Yeah, I was gone.
Their throwing circle was actually so fast that you flew out of it. You couldn't push at all. We hated it. They had. How do I say this? Like they'd taken world-class throwers and had them build it. And then what they had done is they had literally coated it with things. And it made it so that, because even the advanced throwers threw there before us, and people were fouling left and right, and having to change into tennis shoes and having to do that kind of stuff. Whoa. And, they got to the college section and we're all like,
I'm just gonna toss it like a frisbee, because I can get a mark on here and I might win because everyone else is
literally we're gonna die. And I remember changing into tennis shoes and coach was just like, do your best. And it's one of the only college rings that I have ever fallen on, because it was so slick that I went to go plant my tennis shoe and my feet like slid out from underneath me like I was on an ice rink. And I looked at Coach Dana and I went. And she just looked at me and she goes, and I was just like, all right. Like, and then it turns out that for the following year for the Olympic trials, they actually did a terrible thing. They burn it with acid and they actually made it too rough. And so then they were complaining that they didn't have any speed, but they had lots of push.
So they basically sanded that shit down.
Yes. They basically take the smooth surface off with a form of acid. And so you can actually make it too gritty where then you don't have enough speed. You just have leg push. So really I personally think the perfect is a combination where you can use both. You can use both speed and push.
Interesting. And then as far as like shoes, so like the spikes that are coming out now, are there advances in discus shoes too?
You know what?
Are you seeing some cool things, or it's not as much as sprints?
I have not actually seen a single change in the discus shoe.
Really?
No. And that's what like drives me nuts. They're doing all these cool things with spikes, and I really feel like the throwing section has kind of gotten left out. So the throwing shoes are almost identical to what we threw in. There's two forms. There's the shot put shoe, which is more gritty on the bottom, and then there is the discus shoe, which is completely flat and smooth. and it literally just looks like you stuck a piece of smooth plastic to a shoe. And unfortunately,
I
it's
didn't
still like
realize it's
that.
the same ones. Oh man, because we were like, found this picture of Connie Moore with
Yeah.
her old like spikes and like how like heavy they looked, and then like
Mhm. Now you got the ones that like
Jesus.
weigh less than an
Oh
ounce
my,
or
and they like
whatever.
push back, they give you pushback. I mean, it is
Mhm.
insane, the technology.
Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah.
unfortunately, throwing shoes haven't really evolved
I
that
mean, and
much.
maybe there's not a ton of evolution they need, right? Maybe it's not just an area that you're going to see much
That's what
improvement
I'm
for.
guessing.
Yeah.
One of the things I think that massively needs to be improved, and obviously, like others can talk about this, but I think the physical support, like in the shoe. So,
Okay.
my throwing shoes from all the years I spent on them, caused a lot of leg and knee issues because
Mm,
literally you are constantly and repetitively pounding onto a piece of plastic onto cement. So at the time I was competing at like 245, and I would take hundreds of reps, and so 245 times hundreds of reps times the force times the velocity, driving into the ground, like I think about, no wonder my knee hurts all the time, like no wonder my hip is jacked up, like because how much force was I driving into the ground that then my body had to absorb. So I think one of the things I'd love to see a shoe that absorbs just a little bit of that impact,
okay.
especially for
Hmm.
throwers, especially for throwers, like that
Yeah.
impact on our
No,
body is massive.
that makes a lot of sense. You just did a lot of science there, but it's true, right? Because all those, I remember like, because I have like really high arches. And so I have a kind of a different like foot strike, and there was one, and so I had like plantar fasciitis issues, Achilles tendonitis, because you're running on your toes all the time. One
Right.
pair of spikes, Coach Johnson took from me and put in the trash. He was like, "Nope,
These are not it. Yeah.
these are
Um,
not it." Like, Kevin, get
yep.
her the old one. Like, yeah, Kevin had to go in the back and find like the ones I had
Mhm.
like prior years and find, yeah, because
Yep.
it's just interesting how certain people, and it's so wild. Like, for me, it's like you look at our teammates of like how many people like pulled a muscle
Oh,
or
yeah.
had like all these injuries. Mine were all my feet. Besides that
Right.
weird knee thing that happened my sophomore year where that little thing flipped and I clapped. But like besides that, like all my injuries were my little feetsies.
Yeah, and
So
that's
I
like,
never
I
had to be
mean,
sent to that crazy masseuse because I never had a pulled muscle.
lucky for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like competing, I was really fortunate that I didn't get hurt a whole lot, but like
Yeah.
knees and hips, like I
Hmm.
can remember,
Oh
throwing and being
yeah.
like, holy crap, like why does it hurt so bad? And I was actually a non-reverser. So that means at the end of my throw, I stuck my left leg into the ground as hard as I could and then threw over top of it. And um, I can remember coming from practice a couple times and being like, God, that leg hurts. Like it hurts clear up into like my
Mm.
stomach because I'm literally grinding it into the ground as hard as I can. So I think, obviously if Nike's listening or whoever, I'd love to see like, hey, let's look at maybe providing some protection for knees and ankles, for throwers, I think is crucially important.
Yeah, and I think about it too because you're always throwing at such a high force in one direction. So the
Yeah.
other half of your body is not, as much as you try to like help cross trade and keep, you are,
Yeah. It's always one side.
dang,
Always. Mhm.
dang. But like, just kind of speaking of track, like what a great time for American throwers.
I know we're making a comeback. I'm so excited. I get a little excited about this. Amazing. I mean, we competed with well, I don't know if you did, but like Kara Wenger, I mean, we competed with her. Like I've watched her throw in college.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
she is just
Where'd she go to college?
Purdue.
But I was gonna say Minnesota, but you're right. Purdue. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was in the Big Ten.
I mean,
Yeah.
she's having a year. I mean, like just wow.
I
Like
hope she doesn't retire.
I know.
Like,
Like I'm
because
rooting
she
for
said
her.
she was, but then she went and won the effing Diamond League
I
and set the
know.
American record, and she's almost our age
Yeah. And
in the javelin.
I do, granted, I mean, I do get it because at some point your body just doesn't, your body can't do what
Mhm.
you want it to do anymore. So, I mean, if she's retiring because she wants to, eventually be able to bend down to touch her toes, I get it. Like,
But what's one more year because we have world championships
I
next year?
know,
What's
I
one more year?
know.
But then it's like, but that's one more year because then you got the Olympics, and then what's one more year? Because oh, what a
And
great
then
time
what?
for
Yeah,
track and
yeah.
field.
Trust me, listen, I'm hoping Kara does the same thing. I'm hoping she stays. Like, I'm rooting for her to stay. Like, I'm like, come
Hmm.
on, like you can do it.
Hmm.
Chase Easley, we talked about, like, she's so fun to
And
watch
she's
throw.
so young.
Yes. And
I mean,
she's
she's
like,
because we have some other phenomenal woman shot putters too.
yeah, like we've always
Uh,
had. I mean,
Raven
yes.
Raven
Yep.
Sanders, she's the one that wore the mask, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
She's the one that
yeah,
had
and
like
she's been
the
super open about her mental health
which is
struggles,
awesome
and
because like
love her.
we just,
Hmm.
we weren't allowed to talk about that. You were fine at
Yeah,
all
yeah.
times. Um,
Got
I
like
mean,
Gwen and the hammer. I mean Gwen Berry,
yeah,
because she was one of the she got in trouble for like uh
activism.
activism. Yeah,
Yeah. I
on the
really think,
mound.
like, and I hate to say this, but I really think, like, the throws are finally starting to have their time. Like, we've always been, oh, amazing at this and amazing at that. And like, we've always kind of neglected them. I mean, I remember
Hmm.
being a little kid, like, wanting to like watch the Olympics and discus and having to have my mom wake me up at 2 a.m. So I got a 30-second clip
Hmm.
of somebody throwing, and it often wasn't even the winning throw, and I'd be so
Right.
disappointed. And now, like, Joe Kovacs was a teammate of ours. Like, I threw with Joe in college. I mean, now I get to watch full meets where it's nothing but throwing, and it's so exciting to finally like
Oh no.
be.
Oh, you're back. I lost you for a brief second.
Oh, sorry.
You were just
I
talking about
apologize.
Joe.
Yeah, like, it's so exciting to finally see like throwing getting its time, because like
Hmm.
we're now able to watch full meets, and like
Yeah, I mean
it's awesome.
yeah, you get to see. I mean, men's shot put like
Yeah.
Joe Kovacs is he is a Penn Stater.
Woo!
He is coached by his wife,
Yeah.
and before he was coached by his mom.
Yes.
So if you want to talk about a guy that like
Yeah, was raised by,
is the
like, strong
is the
women.
absolute like he's got some badass women behind him.
Mhm.
I absolutely love to watch him throw. So happy that he won the Diamond
Oh,
League.
yeah, like,
But then you
you
got
know
Ryan Krauser. It's just
oh,
like one of those things where like if Ryan wasn't there, Joe would be the greatest of
yeah,
all time. But in the same sense, they obviously push each other, and then they're obviously friends. You know what I
right,
mean? Like,
yeah,
and that's
and
like
it's
I think the most fun part.
and I think it's always good to have competition. I mean, it's always good to know when
Friendly
that.
competition
Mhm,
is the best.
yeah.
It just makes it a pleasant experience
Right.
for
So yeah, so I'm like super excited about like track and field season this year. I think it's going to be so fun to watch, and I'm really hoping that it motivates kids to get into the throws. Like, I
Yeah.
really hope that they look at like Almond and they say, "Hey man, like I'm built like her. Like I could do this," and instead of it kind of being just a last opportunity, well, I'm not talented in anything else,
Yep.
and I think that
Yeah.
that's like I'd love to see that.
I'd love to see more, where one place where we do have a bit that we're not as much in. I mean, we have the male shot putters, but we don't have like the javelin throwers for men. And I do think because men that are really good throwers become baseball pitchers.
Yes.
That's why you'll see those Eastern Europeans tend to like
Yes.
dominate men's javelin.
Yep.
But it's like, hey, dude, maybe if your baseball is not quite for you, try the jab. Like,
Well, and I think too, the other thing I'd love to see is I'd love to see more women coaches in track and field.
yeah.
Wherever I go, it's very male dominated.
Hmm.
And I'm kind of like, man, like we've got some phenomenal ladies out here. Like, let's take a chance and let's coach something.
Hmm.
And so, I think that to me is like the two places I'd really love to see like growth, I guess, is
Hmm.
kind of in the male throws. Like, I'd love to see some of those baseball pitchers. Like, I mean, I hate to say it, but Allen for the Eagles. I mean,
Hmm.
he manages to balance kind of both for like, football and
Devin Allen, yeah,
yeah.
he did get moved to the practice squad, but still,
Oh,
I mean, he
okay.
came back years later and still is on an NFL practice squad. I mean, that's not too
Right.
bad.
So, I
Hmm.
mean, I'd love to see, I'd love to see people trying to do a little bit of both. I mean, because
Hmm.
baseball motion is very similar to jav motion.
Yeah,
I think
it's
it'd be awesome.
definitely a little
Little plug for baseball players to turn into jab throwers.
right. Why not? Let's get the USA on that
Yeah.
one.
That's what you
Yeah,
can do for some cross training.
yeah, and talking about coaching too, it is like I never had a female coach. like I had female assistant coaches, but I had, and mind you, I had some phenomenal coaches. I mean, Brian Westfield in high school, then
Right.
Coach Jeff, and then Coach Johnson, who, like, if people watched the World Championship this past year in the women's 400-meter hurdle final, literally half of the athletes out of 8 were coached by one of the Johnson brothers.
Yep.
2
I saw
by
that.
Chris Johnson
That's
and 2 by
crazy.
Boogie Johnson. So
Mhm.
say like I was coached by him is just like an honor, right? And so, but it still is the thing of like we don't need to put guys down to lift women up, but like
Right.
I would love to see more women go into coaching because it is one of those fields where you have to jump around to where the jobs are. And so it
Right.
is not necessarily conducive to women that want families, to women. Like you have, if you want to be married, you need a partner that will follow, all
Right.
these things that go into it.
I agree with that. And it's so, I mean, it's so hard. Like my first woman coach was Coach D. And like, I like, it was strange to go
We
to
could put
college
some guys. Yeah, the bad ones we can put down. The good
yeah.
men coaches, they can stay. But yeah, some of them.
And I think it's so important. I constantly think about that, like when I'm coaching, because I coach volleyball and I coach track. Like, I see these girls who come up to me and they're like, hey, coach, like, I recently had one of my grads tell me, she's like, I want your job someday. I want to come back and I want to coach. And I was like, good, like, come back and do it. Like, come back and take this. And, I think too, like, we have to be ready to hand the reins over. Like, we have to be
Yeah.
ready to blaze that trail. And then when the time is right, and, we turn it over to the next generation, and we hope that, they keep training the next generation and the next generation. I mean, I know that my transition into coaching in a very male dominated school was not easy. Was not easy at all. I was held to a much
Even with your pedigree, I mean, come on, you're
even
probably
with my
the decorated person there.
even with my pedigree, it wasn't easy. I was held to a much different standard than my male coaches. I'll never forget. I got in trouble one time. I'm gonna swear for a second here. I got in
We
trouble for
talk
the
about
word.
condoms. It's fine.
I got in trouble for telling my girls to pull their head out of their asses. But yet my male basketball coaches could yell the F bomb across a gym in front of a crowd and no one ever talked to them.
Yep.
So, it was definitely a different standard that I was held to. And, I fought it for a lot of years. And even, now I notice that there's still a different expectation. There's still, well, we don't yes, Jody, their heads were in their asses, and as soon as I yelled at them, they fixed it, and we ended up
Yeah.
winning, actually. So, there's still this expectation, I think, that, women are supposed to act a certain way. They're supposed to coach a certain way. They're supposed to do this. And, I think that, we still have in coaching somewhat of a long way to go. And, I think that the more we get out there and the more we fight against it, the more, the easier it's going to be for the next generation and the next generation. And so, I've had people tell me, well, you coach like a guy. And I think that's a compliment. I mean, I think that it is a compliment to,
Yeah, but
expecting.
in the same sense, it's like we shouldn't have to have
No,
a gender
no,
in a
no.
compliment
And every
either.
time somebody says that, I kind of want to punch them
You
in the
want to
face.
cringe? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to punch them in the face and be like, no, I coach like me and I coach like I expect my girls to be coached. I coach like I would want someone to coach my daughter. I would want them to expect the best out of them at every moment and not to let them give up.
It's like that. You might remember that softball clip I had put on the Facebook group like a month or so ago. There was like, when they say she throws like a girl,
Yes. Yes.
this is, yeah. So Jody, it's funny because I'm a woman teacher and a coach. I can get away with more than a woman teacher who doesn't coach. Oh, that's
Oh,
also true.
that
And
yeah, that
my
is
sister also coaches boys too, which you really don't see a ton of.
no, Jody, I'm so jealous. I've wanted to coach boys basketball forever and they won't give me the job.
And that I hate that like, oh, women can coach women, men can coach men, but like, yeah, let's get more women coaching men. It should be the best person for the job
I
should do
think
it, regardless of if what's going on in your pants,
I think it would change the dynamic of men's
Mhm.
sports for the better. And I'm going to say it out loud. Like I really
Yeah.
think that women coaching men would change the dynamic of the sport for the better.
Yeah, I think boys are awesome to coach. I wouldn't want to coach boys at all. And then you see like coaches like, you know, Chris Johnson only coaches women. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? It is funny that but it is like you have some men that just like to coach women. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's get more women coaching men. Like,
Agreed.
you know, look at Joe Kovacs. He's the
Yeah.
absolute, this dude was coached by his mom. And then
Now his wife.
oh my God. Well, first you saw the Chad Powers videos, right? Eli Manning,
Yes.
where he goes, my mom wasn't very smart, but she was a good coach. I hope Joe Kovacs doesn't say that about his mom. But yeah, like I like love him as like the poster child of a man being coached by a woman, because this is like one of the biggest dudes and one of the manliest events. Like, and he is, and not just a woman, his wife.
Right.
Like,
and the awesome thing is, I mean, he's killing it. Like he's killing it.
And you see the other way, right? You see women coaches by their husband. Like when I had Tiffany, I won't say Ophelia, that's her maiden name, Tiffany Porter on here, you know, when she came back after having her child, she was coached by her husband. Awesome. Mm-hmm. And she talked about the, you know, separating at home. But we do see it way more of women being coached by their husband. We don't really see the husband being coached by the wife, and I absolutely just adore it so much.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, and I mean, and they're obviously killing it. I mean, they're obviously like it's a great thing that works for them, and it obviously works in his throwing. And I think, you know, there's room for that. Mm-hmm. I'll be honest with you, part of what I love is I love coaching track because I love coaching my boys. Like they are awesome to work with. I mean, I love coaching my girls too, don't get me wrong. But there's something, I don't know, there's just something fun about it. Like I love it.
There is something interesting when you switch the gender dynamic, and I think because a lot of women like to be coached by men, I do think it can go the flip side to it. But yeah, definitely something we need to see more, and not just, we need to see it at every level of the coaching. Right? We need to see it like my sisters and you know, middle schools, and same with like youth sports. You know, it's always the dad coaching the team. Why not have the wife, you know, or the mom coach the team?
Yeah, especially like, I mean, you know, I know some of these moms who are retired athletes, and I'm like, coach your son's little league team.
First of all, I don't want kids, but can you imagine like me not coaching like my son's like flag football team?
No,
because there is absolutely no way that like anyone would know more than me. Right. I think more boys are more open to being coached by women now than past. Yeah, I think so too. I do think there is. I think boys in general are more open to it than what the powers that may be think that they are.
I would agree with that one 100%. I honestly think that a lot of it is still that old man regime who says, well, we can't have women coaching our boys. How are they going to teach them to be men? Like,
right. How are they going to talk to them in the locker room? Well, how are your male coaches supposed to be?
I'm going to say this out loud, but that was one of the questions when I interviewed for our basketball job that I was asked. How are you going to handle the locker room? And I said, I'm going to pound on the door and tell them I'm coming in.
The same way that male coaches handle female locker. Like,
Yep.
You know,
I expect you to ask me about my coaching philosophy, not how I'm going to handle a locker room. Like,
yeah, it's so backwards. And
agreed.
You know, I'd love to see the powers that be retire and new fresh faces come through.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, we will. We will. So, oh goodness, we're like
we got way off track.
We've gone every direction, and I love it. And we are probably past your bedtime too.
It's getting close.
I know it's getting close.
Getting close.
So back to our time together. Besides my 19th birthday, let's leave the past in the past.
Okay, I got some other photos, so let me show these here.
Oh my God. Yep,
that was us after you graduated. Yeah. Now you came back for the 10s. And then I think this is from our freshman year, I'm pretty sure. I don't even know where we were, but
look at those young face, such flattering pose.
We were babies.
Angle. Yeah, we were.
We hadn't learned about Instagram like angles yet.
We didn't have camera phones. These were all done by like digital or digital. If you had a digital camera, you had to like print it out and then scan it. We had to work to get
we had to work
on Facebook.
We had to work.
There are so many. I'm so glad we didn't have social media.
Oh my gosh, I think about that every day. Thank God. AIM was bad enough.
Right. So, okay. some favorite Penn State memories of yours from not necessarily at track meets. Keep it short. It doesn't need to be completely PG. We've already gone off the deep ends, but
So I think one of let's see, my favorite memories. I think it was another one of your birthday parties. You show up at my house drunk and angry in your white dress, and you like sit on my step and throw a fit.
oh, my 3 a.m. temper tantrum.
Yes.
Okay, I was legal drinking age, Mom. Okay, this
was
is
on this
when I
one.
was 22nd. I think that was my 22nd birthday. So
I
that's when
think
I
it
lived
was
in New
too.
York, and I came back down to celebrate because it was like Amber's birthday, Lena's
Yes.
birthday. Like everyone has birthdays. I was wearing that little white dress. We had taken the pictures with the Joe Pa statue earlier.
Yes.
To this day, we don't.
No, she wasn't bleeding anyway.
I wasn't bleeding this time. That was the only time since I have absolutely had issues where I was bleeding, but we never figured out. But I definitely threw a temper tantrum, and I said that we would laugh about this years later. You said it, and I was like, no.
Yeah, you were dead set.
Still don't know. I don't know if it was over a boy or if it was over food. Like legit, it could have been.
I'm not even sure that I could decipher what it was over because you were just so mad.
I was, but I was over it the next day. But I specifically remember this. It was like legit.
I think one of my other favorite Penn State memories was I lived with a group of girls, and one of the football players who shall not be mentioned was coming over to study with one of the girls, and she was all getting ready and that kind of stuff to like study with him. And I had literally just gotten out of the shower, and she goes, the doorbell rings, and literally I have my hair in like a turban because it's literally soaking wet. I'm in my giant big blue bathrobe that's super fuzzy, and she's like, Christen, you're the only one home. Can you open the door? And I was like, I guess so. I'm in my bathrobe. And so I decide, like, what the heck? We're going to make this fun. So I throw open the door and I'm like, have you found Jesus? And I'm pretty sure he just about peed himself standing outside of our door in Nittany Apartments, to which he just died laughing and could never really look me in the face without laughing again. So
does he have a Super Bowl ring?
I think so.
Yeah, his Super Bowl ring.
Yeah,
we won't name names, but
just retired a couple. Just retired a couple years ago. Yeah, won't name names, but yeah. Every time he would see me after that, he would just start dying laughing, and he'd tell me that he had found Jesus. So yeah, we had a good laugh about that one. There's so many good memories at Penn State. I just I loved being there. It was such a great group of people. I can remember the first time I knew somebody walking down campus. They shouted my name across the street. They were like, "Hi, Clemson," and I was like, oh, "There's 40 some odd thousand kids here, and somebody knows my name." I was so excited.
Yeah, we had a great, and I loved my throwers. Like I used to just like take piggyback rides from Scott Vernon in between classes for no good reason, just fun size.
I think like summer too, when we competed over summer and we were all there in those crappy dorms.
Just us.
Yeah, just us, and being able to kind of be up and have some fun and just kind of sitting around chatting about what we wanted our lives to be and where we thought we would be. Vastly different than where I actually am. But yeah, I mean, I think those kind of memories with our team was just, it was everything.
Yeah. I'm going to share one final memory before I get your closing moments.
Oh no. Okay.
So I purchased a gift for you.
I still have it. I should have blown it up and put it in the background.
It would have taken some effort to get that one blown up.
I would have needed an air pump.
Yeah. I got you for one of your birthdays a 6-foot inflatable penis that we blew up. I think we didn't have an air pump. Like Katie Willow was helping us with this one.
We took turns blowing up this 6-foot inflatable penis.
And then we rode it around Nittany Apartments at various stages throughout that weekend.
Yes. And I still have it. I've not inflated it since, but I really should have for this podcast because you never know when you might need one.
You never know when you need it. And this, Mom, is why I wanted to go to a party school. But hey, guess what? I got great grades. You didn't know what you were getting into, but
No, I had no
you
clue.
found trouble. You knew I was trouble. You turned around, you embarrassed me in front of everyone. And, and it
And
just
that's what happens.
and it went from there. And look, I say I got great grades in school. You went and got a freaking PhD.
Yep. I think we did all right. I think we survived.
Yeah, I think that we are great success stories. You know what? Jody did find Jesus. Or no, not Jody. Jody, yes, Kristen found Jesus. Jody found Jesus too.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yes.
but I think that's the thing too of like we both had great academic success. We both had great academic success, and we also had great off the field fun time. Maybe may or may not be illegal, whatever success, as well. So, and I think that is what college is all about because then we learned
Yeah, I mean,
many,
live and
many,
learn.
many life lessons. We learned how to make togas,
Oh, I
how not
remember
to make togas.
listen, one year I went as Halloween as a yard sale. I made money. I made money as a yard sale. It was fabulous. Things I've learned.
I made a toga with just two pillowcases.
I was not that. Listen.
Glad we didn't have those photos on the internet.
I was covered in a full sheet with things pinned to me, and I made like $50 that night. People were like, "Dude, can I have this?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's $1." It was great. So kids, if you need a Halloween costume, go as a yard sale.
If there's ways to make money in college. That's one of them. So as we wrap up I know it's your bedtime. You're going to go to bed. So
I am.
Final question for Dr. Clemson. I always ask people what is kind of on the future for you, and I actually don't necessarily know this, but what are some of your personal professional goals that you have looking into like 2023 and beyond?
Oh, that's a good question. That's I wish you would have given me a heads up that was coming.
Come on, I ask it every time.
Normally I'm in bed by the time the interview ends.
I know, right? Just watch the first half.
So I would say 2023, short-term goals. I want to be a better coach. I'm really kids. People always say kids are changing, and I agree with that. And so I think as my job as a coach is to change with that. My job is to figure out what motivates kids to be better. And so I think I'm going to look at some different coaching strategies for myself to see like what works. I think as a teacher, I'm finally getting it figured out. This is year number 7. I finally feel okay. And I'm going to knock on my wooden kitchen table because as soon as I say that, life will just implode and it'll be a disaster. So I'm going to knock on wood for that. I'm actually kicking around possibly getting another master's. We'll see.
Oh, you don't have enough degrees?
No, I like them. I collect them. They're like toys.
What do you want to get another master's in?
I'm looking at educational administration. I'm thinking someday, and I don't know when, but I'd like to get into teaching in the college level. And so when I'm looking for what they're looking for, yes.
Oh, yeah, my sister's doing national boards.
Okay. So I'm kind of looking, to maybe get into the administration side, maybe move out of classroom or if I don't move out of classroom, maybe move into like a college classroom. I'm not really in a hurry to yet because I finally feel like I'm getting it, but I am kind of planning long-term. So
yeah, we do need more administrators that have actually had years in the classroom.
Agreed. 100%.
Like it's because you have all the PhD work, you can study that philosophy and stuff all day long, but you also had the practical work. And so weird. Does that make people experts? Yeah. I think my sister just gave an angry face on that one. Yeah. And I love the thought of actual real life and not just teach for 1 year and go become an administrator, but teach for like at least you're at.
I'm at 7 already. So
but I'm thinking like 5, 7, 10 years and actually going to the other
because
side
I think, and I'm going to say this, like, since, COVID has changed a lot about our world. And I think since COVID, it's also, Jody 17, good job for you. I think that COVID has changed a lot about our world. And I think that we need to make sure that we're changing along with it.
Absolutely. And you're about to become Not just a dog mom, but a cat mom.
I am.
Well.
I had 2 stray kittens show up at my house, and they are adorable. I don't know if I can show, but I'll show on my phone real
Do it.
quick
Do it.
if you don't
Why not?
mind. Let's see. I'm looking for names for them, but they are really flippin' cute. And I'm waiting to bring them in. They're both little boys. Oh, there we go. There's one. And
Love
then
him.
here's his little brother. They're about 5. I think they said they're about 5.5 months, 5.5 months old. And unfortunately, they were just kind of dropped as strays at my house. So
And
we're
show
gonna.
a quick picture of Bella too, please.
Oh, you would like a quick picture?
Because I would like to end with my baby girl Bella.
Oh, let me find a good one because right now she's just being a goofball. But let me see if I can find a quick picture of my beautiful baby. I have a 6-year-old Akita. So give me. Oh, here she is.
Joey
Not being
said
away, though.
Claude and Jerry.
I love it. They are the sweetest little guys. They're a little crazy, but they are just the sweetest little guys ever. Sorry. I have lots of pictures of Bella, but sometimes they're very awkward.
Sometimes you have to have I get it. She's not always a lady. Her legs aren't always closed.
Yeah, she's
Bella.
not always the prettiest princess. She is when you meet her in person, but she is not always. I actually have 2, so let me see. So this is an up close of her face. And then this is kind of what she looks like full standing up, ready to I don't know, she was listening to something, but here she is in the water, kind of enjoying life.
Just my baby.
So, yep. So we're gonna see how she adjusts to my two kitties coming into the house. So
She loves cats, so
yeah, she
love
does.
it. I love it. And I just have an account now that's in Ohio, so I might be having some more visits. More reasons to come out to Ohio, make a little trip over to Mecca, Ohio. It's the hot spot, y'all.
Oh my gosh, so hot. Don't come out and visit. We have a great time.
We do. Well, Clem, thank you so much for staying up past your bedtime to hang out with me.
Anything for you.
Yay. And on that note,
this has been a Chicago Clubhouse Network production.